What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to episode number 286 of the Smark Out Moment Smack Talk podcast. I am your host, as always, Tony Mango, and this is the Hot Tags edition of the week, where I'm going to be breaking down some of the current events, rumors, news, gossip, and whatever the hell else is going on that I want to talk about that happened over the past couple of days in the world of professional wrestling and sports entertainment and all the other insanity that we follow here at Smark Out Moment. So thank you for joining me for this edition, everybody. We got a couple different things that we are going to talk about here. I'm going to start things off with Summer Rae. It's the summer month right now. We're, heading into June. The weather is still kind of a little bit weird where I am. It's sort of going back and forth between being full-blown summer where it's hot and then going into rainy and cold and you need to put on the heater and the weather doesn't know what's happening, but apparently also WWE doesn't know what is going on with Summer Rae. She has been cleared to return to in-ring action, but the reports are saying that they don't know what the hell to do with her. They don't know which brand they even want her on, let alone what they're going to do with like her character and where they're going to put her as far as like a feud or anything like that going forward. So my gut reaction is that she's going to go on Monday Night Raw and that she's going to fill in that spot that Emma was in, because Emma, for all we know, is going to be gone for at least a couple of other weeks, if not a couple of months, with her injuries. And if Summer Rae is able to swoop in and kind of take that spot away, then she can start feuding with Dana Brooke, and they can kind of do something like that, because Dana Brooke's not doing anything in the meantime. If you look at Monday Night Raw compared to SmackDown, SmackDown's got Lana in the wings. And I think that they are going to be having Nikki Bella come back relatively soon, probably around like SummerSlam or so. So then that's two more people to kind of add into the lineup. Raw has been kind of, I don't want to say going through the motions, but they're still trying to figure out what they're going to do with a lot of those different feuds. They have Sasha Banks and Alicia Fox against each other, and they've got the whole thing with Mickie James sort of just hanging around and doing nothing, and Nia Jax hanging around and doing nothing. They could be doing something. Alexa Bliss and Bayley are doing their own thing separately, so there's a little bit of flexibility with that. But I do think that Paige is not going to be coming back anytime soon. So even though she's on the Monday Night Raw roster, I'm counting her out completely. And Summer Rae was on the roster according to like the draft and everything like that, as far as I can remember. So Summer Rae going to Raw is my best bet, but we still haven't seen her return after being cleared to return to the ring. So maybe they're going to think about putting her into the Money in the Bank. If they do that for the women's match on SmackDown, maybe they're going to have her start to feud with Lana to do something kind of like that. I don't really know. My gut reaction says Monday Night Raw, but I want to know what you guys have to say. What do you think is the best bet for where they should put Summer Rae? Drop your comments below and do the same thing for all the other topics that we're going to be talking about here. Moving on to another one. And this is about a different type of return, possibly. We don't really know for sure yet. But Chris Jericho has been added to the WWE live event schedule for June 28th, June 30th, and July 1st. Now, keep in mind, those are live events. They're in like Singapore and such, not episodes of SmackDown or Raw or pay-per-views. But we do have different shows around that time, of course, because there's always a show coming up in some capacity. I mean, WWE with the brand split, there's always something going on. But the interesting thing to note here is not just the fact that he's being advertised for these, it's that the last Fozzy tour date is, what was it now? I got to double check my notes. June 24th. Hey, that's my birthday. So he will be 4 days past whatever that tour date is to be able to come back and start doing WWE stuff. Now, before, he's done something in the past where he's done live events, but he's not done actual appearances on WWE television and on pay-per-views. And that might be the case here, but it might be an indication that he's going to be returning to SmackDown. And at that point, that's after Money in the Bank, and that's heading towards whatever the next event is, which I think is Battleground off the top of my head. Let me go ahead and double check that list too. I should have had that written up ahead of time in my notes. Yeah, so June 18th is Money in the Bank. Great Balls of Fire is July 9th. But if he shows up on SmackDown the way that we would expect him to, because he's a part of the SmackDown roster at the moment, then he wouldn't be building anything towards Great Balls of Fire, which we still know virtually nothing about in the grand scheme of things. But he would be potentially building towards a match with Battleground, which is July 23rd. I may or may not be going to Battleground. I haven't quite decided yet. It's in my neck of the woods in Philly, so it's a possibility. And I would love to see Chris Jericho pop up in that, because if he's going to wrestle Shinsuke Nakamura, if he's going to wrestle maybe Kevin Owens again, maybe he's going to wrestle somebody completely different or something. I don't know. If he's at least popping up with June, at the end of June and the early parts of July, there is a little bit of potential that he could start building towards some kind of a match with somebody on that card. And I think that that is something that we should be paying a lot of attention to, because if we have the fallout from Money in the Bank and it incorporates anything that might seem like a Jericho direction could be interesting, just sort of putting it out there, possibility. Unfortunately, let's talk about Backlash and their poor attendance. The ratings for this week of Monday Night Raw at this point were the lowest, I think, in 2017. And we haven't gotten the SmackDown scores yet, because by the time I'm recording this, SmackDown just ended about an hour and a half ago. And Monday Night Raw wasn't doing that good this week. Well, apparently Backlash didn't do that good either. The sales stopped right when they started announcing the card. And unfortunately, even though the Allstate Arena fits about 18,000 people, apparently they capped out at around 10,000 tickets. So that's not a good sign for SmackDown. And the ratings this week might be an indication of where they're going to go in the future with like Jinder Mahal's title reign and such. But I know a lot of people aren't really the happiest about Jinder Mahal winning that title. I personally am sort of on the fence about it. I think that it's a little bit weird that a mid-carder ended up getting pushed to that level. But I kind of like the idea that I didn't really see that coming, and I didn't really expect them to go that far and actually give him the championship. But now that they did, I kind of want to see how this plays out. I'm actually more annoyed about the idea that Rusev has not been factored into the plans as opposed to Jinder Mahal. Now, I'm not the type of person that's like, oh, Jinder Mahal is the champion. This means that they've killed the belt, and I'm not going to watch SmackDown anymore. I got a website to run and a podcast to do and all that, so I'm going to be watching this shit anyway. But some people do actually think that. There's a lot of people that don't follow SmackDown, and they don't follow Monday Night Raw if they follow SmackDown. The brand split kind of invites competition. The good thing about the competition is that people start arguing back and forth, which one's the better show? No, this one's better, that one's better. The downside to that is, for one of them to be better, the other one has to be worse. And you get those half of the audience that just kind of goes, you know what, I don't think I'm going to watch SmackDown because they don't have my one or two favorite people in there. I got, buddies of mine that are like, wait, Jinder Mahal got the championship? How did he go from being a jobber to that? What happened? I haven't been watching over the past couple of weeks. Apparently, based off of the ticket sales for Backlash, not a whole lot of people are interested in this storyline. Maybe now that Jinder Mahal is the champion, they're going to get a little bit more interested in the future. But it goes to show that just because you do something different doesn't mean it's necessarily going to pan out. And sometimes it might. You never know. It's always worth the risk if it's something that's not going to be like detrimental or anything. But the fact that we didn't get a whole lot of people showing up for Backlash is not a good sign. So if you guys do support anything that's going on right now, show your support for it. Go and, watch the TV shows live if you can. Watch the pay-per-views. Put a little bit of social media stuff out there. Let them know, because the social media scores are another thing that they're paying attention to. You tweet, you Facebook message things. That's going to start building up a little bit of steam. And after a while, if you don't support something and then they change it back to the status quo, then who do you got to blame other than yourself, right? And if we're talking about poor performances when it comes to shows, let's transition that into the whole YouTube situation, because I talked about this a few weeks ago, and it's something that needs to be brought up again. YouTube's advertisement restrictions have gotten really bad when it comes to wrestling channels. Apparently they are called not advertiser friendly anymore. Now, I've gotten a couple different things over the past couple of weeks that have said things for the Fanboys Anonymous channel, oddly enough, where we did a podcast one time where it was called Celebrity Suicides and the pressures of fame or something like that. And YouTube, for some fucking reason, said, oh, well, if you're talking about suicide in this, we can't advertise on it, so you'll never, ever, ever be able to advertise again. It's our final decision. You can't appeal it. The end. If that's happening to a lot of wrestling channels, that kills those channels because they can't make any money on there. And as much as channels tend to do things to kind of appease their creative aspects and to try to give you guys extra content and stuff like that you guys like, in the grand scheme of things, this is supposed to be a business type of model. And if it kills off the advertisement stuff for YouTube channels, then they can't do anything other than to just go away, you know? And apparently the same thing's sort of happening to What Culture Pro Wrestling, because they just canceled a bunch of shows because the advertisement restrictions are killing their monetization. They said something like they had 1 million views on the one thing and they only made $44. You can't keep a business going with that kind of thing. So I don't pay any attention to What Culture Pro Wrestling, and I don't endorse the fact that you should be going to What Culture instead of Smark Out Moment and stuff like that. But you got to show at least a little bit of solidarity when it comes to the idea that if it's, that whole, this is a horrible thing to kind of to equate it to, but it's the whole, like, first they came for the whatever, and then I didn't say anything, then they came for whatever, and then I didn't say anything, then they came for me, and there was nobody else to fight the battle for me. If you show your support for wrestling on YouTube, no matter who it is, it's going to help out all of the other channels. So that sucks to hear that What Culture Pro Wrestling has been able to get hit so hard by the YouTube advertisement glitch, and that stuff's going to trickle down. So I mentioned this before. I'm going to continue to do Smark Out Moment on YouTube as much as I possibly can, and I don't make as much money as I need to be able to really justify doing this to begin with, let alone if they start killing off the idea even more. But if these things get worse and worse and worse, then we're going to have to start looking into some other possibilities, and that really sucks. But let's move on to another thing here. Let's talk about the idea of fake websites and the idea that Nikki Bella has not been released. There was some kind of a fake website out there which was clearly fake when I clicked on it. It was like, why do people think that this kind of stuff is true? Then again, I'm talking about some people that email me all the time and they think that I'm WWE, and they ask me for tickets and they try to say, you should put Roman Reigns in this type of match, and you should, when's the next time that you're going to be coming to Indianapolis? And it's like, I'm not WWE. You went to smarkoutmoment.com instead of WWE.com. You're insane. So some people get fooled by this kind of thing. And clearly some people got fooled by this report that Nikki Bella was going to be released for endorsing weight loss products, which is stupid enough as it is, because every woman on the roster that I can remember has some kind of Instagram account where they take a picture of some stupid weight loss thing. It's like some protein shake powder or whatever. And it's like, here's my my abs, here's my boobs, here's my ass, here's whatever. Take a look at my body, and I'm holding up this kind of weak-ass tea supplement thing or something, and that's, they get a little bit of money on the side or something, and that's what they get for a little bit of endorsement stuff. WWE has never had a problem with this. If they do, they clearly aren't valuing that kind of a priority as being like, we need to fire people over that, instead of telling people like, hey, maybe you don't want to do that, and we don't really love the idea that you're endorsing that stuff. But it seems to go by relatively unscathed. And Nikki Bella is not going to be released for something like that. First off, because it wasn't even a credible source that said it. Second off, she has way too much pull in the company for them to fire her over that, because plenty of other people would have been fired if that would have been the case. We would have had Liv Morgan, see you later, well long before. Eva Marie never would have been able to last as long as she did if that was the case, because she was constantly doing that kind of stuff. Everybody really does it. So don't buy into bullshit. Always pay attention to the different dirt sheets that are reporting stuff. Always take everything with a grain of salt, because that is the best way to go about checking up the rumors and stuff. You never know what to believe, even if it's bullshit. Let's talk about, I'm going to butcher her name, Kairi Hojo, I'm assuming. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly or not, but one of the newest signings for WWE was this women's wrestler from Japan, obviously, and they told her that she needed to change her finisher, and the story going around is that she uses an elbow drop from the top rope, and that the reason why they don't want her to do that anymore is because it's one of Bayley's moves. To tell you the truth, I didn't remember the fact that Bayley did this move at all, so that's kind of weird, but maybe I'm just not paying attention to Bayley's matches all that much. Makes sense to me, though, if that is a move that Bayley does, and that they want to keep that as a Bayley move for her to change her finisher, because if they've got other finishers that they can have her use instead, why the hell not? Top rope elbow drop is not the best finisher in the world to begin with, and only certain people can kind of pull that off as being, like, good enough to sort of be a finisher as opposed to some kind of, like, setup move or something. But we'll have to see what her finisher ends up actually being. Now, I'm expecting her to go to NXT and not to the main roster, so that's another thing where maybe by the time she gets into the thick of things, maybe Bayley's not going to be doing that anymore and she'll go back to doing that. Either way, they've been spending a lot of time invested in their Japanese markets lately, trying to get a bunch of people coming over there. Like William Regal was actually just scouting talent a little bit. They really want to expand that sort of global presence that they've got. And the more people that they bring in, I have no idea who this woman is. If she's good enough that they thought that they could bring her in, all the better. Thumbs up. If she could change her finisher to something better than elbow drop, even better. Because elbow drop is cool. It's not really the best finisher in the world. WWE has applied for a new trademark. I always like talking about trademarks here and trying to speculate where it's going to be going in the future, what it means, who it's going to be applicable to, and different things like that. This trademark is for merchandise use, and it's immune to fear. So my gut reaction is that this is going to be about Bray Wyatt, because he is the face of fear and different things like that. But it could be Nikki Bella, because she does the whole fearless thing. Or it could be Finn Balor, because he might be feuding with maybe Brock Lesnar. Maybe he could be feuding with Bray Wyatt. And it can kind of be like, I'm Finn Balor, I'm immune to fear, I'll take on anybody, that kind of thing. Maybe it's not. I don't know. Maybe it's somebody from NXT. Maybe it's a brand new person from, like, developmental or something like that. Like an Aleister Black or... you know what? I really don't even know, because I totally got the Revival wrong when that ended up being one of those trademarks we were talking about. And some of these just fall by the wayside and we never really see anything about them. But if it is a merchandise-related thing, I think that it's going to be on something that we're going to see on WWEshop.com over the next couple of weeks, couple of months, whatever the case may be. And I think if I had to just take a random-ass guess, it would have to be somebody like a Finn Balor or a Bray Wyatt, more than it would be like... John Cena's not going to get a new catchphrase like that. He already has the whole rise above hate and the hustle, loyalty, and respect, so he's not going to do immune to fear. Nikki Bella does do the fearless thing, so I don't think that she's going to do immune to fear. But one of those crazier cult kind of characters, I think they could be a better fit for that. Maybe it's going to be Heath Slater. I don't know. Random ass guess. Let's talk about the New Day's fantastic ride. I just watched that a couple minutes before I started recording this, and you could skip it. It's a 21-minute or so little look into their whole entrance for WrestleMania. It's got a little bit to do with the Final Fantasy thing. I don't like Final Fantasy, so that was all lost on me. If you like Final Fantasy, you might get something more out of it. But it's mostly the New Day going, man, this is crazy. We got some cool gear. This has been fun. We're doing some fun stuff. It's fun. This is fun. It's really a waste. I mean, I really should have just recorded this a little bit earlier and just kind of knocked it out, but I wanted to check that out to see what it would be like, because I like watching these network specials and telling you guys whether it's a thumbs up or a thumbs down or like any interesting things that come about. This wasn't really all that interesting. Thumbs down for me, but if you got anything more out of it, drop your comments below and tell me what you thought. You know, I always want to hear those differing opinions, just the same as I want to hear the ones that support me. And the last thing for us to talk about here, and this seems to be pretty divisive actually, I don't know why, but the women's tournament that had been announced that they were going to be doing this summer, which they're going to be taping towards the end of July and airing the episodes in August, has an official name now. It is the Mae Young Classic. And the first thing that I've been hearing from almost all sources is people going, why isn't it the Fabulous Moolah Classic? Who fucking cares? It's Mae Young. She's like the twin of Fabulous Moolah when it comes to that. And really, when you think about it, Mae Young has always been in the shadows of Fabulous Moolah. Moolah has that title reign that nobody's ever going to beat, and Mae Young never got to that kind of status. She's actually been in WWE a little bit more than a little bit more than Fabulous Moolah for like, kind of, not like paying her dues, because it's like horrible to say because she was already so old when she was really like hanging around and stuff, but she did more stuff, you know, like she was getting powerbombed and she was doing the hand gimmick and stuff like that. She had more fun and they seemed to just kind of connect with her more. Mae Young is one of those classic old legend type of wrestlers, and if they were going to do Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, the Mae Young Classic makes sense. The logo that's on the thumbnail right now is, I'm sure, very, very temporary, and they're going to just replace it with something a whole lot better looking, because they've done that with the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. They did it with the Cruiserweight Classic. They've done it with everything so far. So the look of that right now, disregard it. It's going to get better. They've got a month to figure this out. They're going to figure out something better. But the title of it, the Mae Young Classic, I'm cool with it. I like that better than it just being the WWE Women's Tournament. That was lame. It's like, they didn't need to really change it, but it's bland. The Mae Young Classic has a little bit more of a prestige feel to it, and I like that a lot better. So I actually endorse it quite a bit. I think that that's something that we can all get behind. But if you think that it should have been the Fabulous Moolah Classic, or it should have been the Alundra Blaze Classic, or whatever you're supporting when it comes to that, let me know why you think that that's the case. Oh, and real quick, this isn't a part of my actual hot tags, but we've got a little bit more discussion with The Rock potentially running for president. And we've talked about this a couple different times on the podcast, so I don't need to really break it down all that much. But, he kind of threw out there some more little speculation about that over the past week or so. And I still am totally on board with him as president if he does run. So what I did do is I added a new t-shirt design to the TeePublic shop at the Smark Out Moment link, not the Fanboys Anonymous one. And it's just a generic kind of The Rock for president sort of one. So if you are supporting the idea of The Rock running for president, you guys are the target audience. Go ahead, buy the shirt, wear it around, and show other people that you actually would vote for Dwayne Johnson. That's going to do us in, though, for this edition of the Hot Tags, everybody. As I mentioned before 1 or 2 times, leave your comments below and tell me what you think about these different topics. Next time you're going to be hearing my voice is going to be the Ask Him and all the other Rest Hold stuff that's going to be popping up a couple hours from now, depending on when I'm uploading this and when I'm going to be uploading that and stuff. We also have the finals to break down for the Sexiest Superstars tournament. And then we've got the mailbag later on this week. So we got a bunch of different things coming up. Stay tuned for all that. All you got to do is subscribe to the YouTube channel and hit that bell icon for the notifications. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and keep checking out the website for more. Thanks for listening, everybody. This has been another Smark Out Moment, and I'm being counted out.